So, my name is Dr. Magare Gikenyi. I'm a consultant trauma and general surgeon within the county government of Nakuru. I'm also a human rights activist in this country of ours. So today we are discussing on the issue, the petition concerning the e-citizen platform and the convenience fee of 50 bob, which is always being charged on Kenyans. If you remember well, on 1st of around February 2024, the government through the Ministry of Education and the PS, Ministry of Education, then Belio Kipsang, give a directive that all schools should pay fees through e-citizen. I moved to court to apply for quashing of those directives inter alia because there was no public participation, and the e-citizen itself and the 50 bob they are forcing Kenyans to pay is not constitutional. We had the case, the government was saying the e-citizen platform is constitutional. But the High Court on the 1st of April 2024 found that the directive of forcing all parents to pay their fees through e-citizen is unconstitutional because it did not follow due process before the said directive was to be made effective. Secondly, the charging of 50 shillings per transaction is also unconstitutional. Based, number one, that there was no public participation on the said 50 shillings. From the records of the government, they say that they do almost 120 to 150 transactions per day. If you calculate that 50 shillings, and that translates to around 750 million shillings per month. Yeah, those are gross amount of money which needs to be based. So the e-citizen is not based on any law. It was just noticed by then the PS Treasury Professor Kipto, and the digital learning system in the Ministry of ICT, we certainly introduced it. The Kenyans were never asked. But if you check very well Article 209 of the Constitution, the Constitution allows the government to charge some people through two major ways. That's taxes and the levy stocks charges. So this 50 shillings on top of a charge is charged on a charge. The Constitution does not allow the government to tax on people. In fact, the court even said the Constitution does not allow the government to do business with its own people. The work of the business is to collect funds and then use it after appropriation by Parliament, pursuant to Article 94 and 95. Essentially, if you look at the public expenditure, which is Chapter 12 of the Constitution. So after the issue having been declared unconstitutional, and the fees also declared also unconstitutional, that you cannot force people. Remember very well, some of us grew up through what we call payment of fees in kind. We were fairly poor in our society, so sometimes our parents can always pick a bag of maize or beans for America fees. So if you were to say that that's not allowed, because you cannot pay fees, when you have Mahindi through e-citizen, you have to sell it. Then and depending on the season, sometimes when there's a season whereby the cost of even a gunia of Mahindi is very low, so you are forced to sell before you do the same. And then you also realize there are some people who are also in far-flung areas where networks are problem. They were not considered because they are also Kenyans. Because if you are a Kenyan, you are forced to pay fees. That's why you are supposed to use a phone. That a phone needs a network. Network is not there. It means you have a double problem. In that, number one, you have been punished for not being given a network to use even for calling. Number two, you cannot use e-citizen. So it means you cannot learn. It means marginalization and discrimination will always continue. So the court, as I've said, declared the same unconstitutional. In addition, it also declared the levying of 50 shillings and forcing parents to pay fees through e-citizen as also unconstitutional. The government, through its own officers like the CS Treasury, CS ICT, CS Education, KRA, Ministry of Interior, continue doing the same. What the code declared, I will told them not to do. So on August, 7th of August this year, I filed a contempt application. Essentially, I'm saying, let us, the court to hold the officers responsible, we cite them in contempt. Contempt means ni kudharau mahakama. Because under Article 10 of the Constitution, there's a doctrine of what we call rule of law. It says that for whatever you do, you are a state officer, you must do within the Constitution. So I filed and requested the court to find them, to cite them for contempt and punish them accordingly, and force them to drop the 50 shillings they are charging on Kenyans. The government then moved to the Court of Appeal to apply for stay of judgment, of execution of the judgment, pursuant to Rule 52B of the Court of Appeal rules. The case was heard by a 3-judge bench, Honorable Justice D.K. Musinga, Justice Tuyot, and Justice Nyamweya, and the court on the 21st of November 2025 dismissed the application by the government to stay the judgment of the High Court judgment, which declared the e-citizen unconstitutional. So today we were in court. Today we were in court for highlighting or submission on the contempt application, and which we highlighted before Honorable Justice Chacha Mwita, and they were waiting for the ruling on the 13th of February 2026. But what essentially we are saying is that the said aspect is unconstitutional. So the government must stop levying Kenyans 50 shillings. Because the government can only do something which is illegal. Government is not allowed to do an illegal activity. It's not allowed. So that's what we are saying. This needs to stop. And that's where we are. So the government was trying to argue, oh, you see, to take time, it needs time. But you remember, since that time, the court declared the said action unconstitutional. It's almost 8 months. They cannot tell the court that 8 months they are not able to stop paying 50 shillings. Because 50 shillings is just a system aspect. If you remove that 50 bob, the charges will only remain, only the charges will remain. No, then another thing, because this 50 bob is charge on a charge. Because, for example, if you want to get a police clearance certificate, the charges is 1,000. They're supposed to pay 1,000 and they get a service. But this is now you are paying 1,000, which is a charge, and then you pay 50 shillings. In fact, even the matters what this 50 shillings goes direct to those people who are running the system. So essentially, Kenyans are paying this what I call shadowy figures. Including the pesa flow, there's pesa flow, there's I can't remember another one. There's a pesa flow among others. These shadowy figures, I call them shadowing, that they were never procured by anybody. People just sat on a table for a cup of tea, then they were given the job to provide the services of e-citizen. No procurement. The Constitution under Article 227, Article 5, requires that any procurement aspect must meet those principles of accountability, transparency, competitiveness, meritocracy, among others. So you cannot, at any circumstances, just go for a cup of tea and pick 2 to 3 people to provide services for all Kenyans. Then we give them 750 million, that's what 0.7 of a billion. Every month, this money goes to the pocket of people. 750 million. If you were to use 750 million, it will build a lot of classes. That's 0.7 billion. Because if you check the education budget, it's around 300 billion. So you realize they're using now almost 0.7 billion, which is going into people's pockets. So I told the court, and I know the court will agree with me, that the court having declared the same unconstitutional, then the work of any party is to obey those court orders. Court orders are not there for ornamental values. They're supposed to be obeyed. That's the basis of the doctrine of the rule of law, constitutional and constitutionalism. Because if we don't do that, it means we live by the jungle. If you don't live by the rule of the law, we live by the rule of the jungle. And if you remember, the former CJ of India says, it's called Kabir. He says where the rule of law ends, then anarchy starts. So it's them to decide. It's them to decide, do they want anarchy or do they want rule of law? So that's what I can say. My work as on this side is just to ensure that there's rule of law and constitutionalism in this aspect. So in my small way, I'm trying to protect Kenyans from being levied. That's what I'm saying in my small way. That's what sometimes I always say, do a small way which can make our society a better place than we found it. Because they have said, because even they say that society gets rotten when good people keep quiet. And then Kenyans are being forced to do those to pay those payments which has no basis in the law or the constitution.
So in short, you are saying the court has ruled there is the 50 bob. It is unconstitutional and the Kenyans should not pay.
Yes, that's ruled that the 50 bob, make the rule on 1st of April this year. That 50 bob should be stopped from being levied immediately. That's why when I realized, I gave them even 4 months between April and August, so that they can do what they can do that, but they were not able to do it. So that's why I took for contempt. I took them to court. Those CS involved, plus the AG, honorable AG, as the chief legal advisor, their work is to advise the government. And among the advice which I'm very sure she needs to know, or the office needs to know, that when a court of law declares something illegal and orders you to do ABCD, essentially to stop levying Kenyan 50 shillings for each citizen, you must stop. So if you don't, then you are going against the law. That's why we're now taking contempt is a personal liability. It's not an institution. Like, for example, the office of the AG is an office. The office of the Ministry of Treasury is an office. You can never take our own office to court or to jail. You can take them to court, but you cannot take them to jail. Where's fun that the Ministry of Education you go to committee? So what? That's a contempt in a that person holding the office is the one who is responsible for their actions, or omissions.
Now let me ask this question.
Yes.
You have been paying that 50 bob.
Yes.
For many years.
Yes.
Where is the money? Where does the money go?
The money, the fifth of which the government is collecting, it goes to those.
Only the general told us it is not accounted for.
It goes to those shadowy figures.
Yeah.
That's why I call them shadowy. Shadowy is those figures hawajulikani, wako tu kuna watu wako nyuma wengine mbele like that. So that's why sometimes I tell you, these shadowy figures, they were never procured. They just came the picture through a cup of tea. So which in itself is unconstitutional. In their likely when they wanted people to over each citizen, the best thing they would have done, they just advertise. They say we want the ABCD, anybody willing to do that, let us do that. So that at the end of the day, we get value for our money. But even then, the Constitution does not allow government to charge Kenyans to do business with some people. The government cannot be like a businessman getting money through charging people. No, government gets money by pursuant to Article 209 of the Constitution through taxes and the levies / charges. But there is no provision for charge on a charge. Because like now, if you want to pay a certificate of good conduct, even a driving license is 600. Once you are in the e-citizen, you are not allowed to pick 600 and leave 50. There is no that provision. The burden is 600 plus 50 mongers on that. So you are forced to pay 650. If you want to pay anything, even if you want to register a company, it's around 11,000. when you fill those forms CR1, CR2, CR3, CR8, CR12, ukimaliza mwisho tu before submit, it takes you to M-Pesa. M-Pesa, the total cost is supposed to be 11,000, but you're supposed to pay 11,050 shillings. These 50 shillings goes to shadowy figures who are within government. They are within government circles, and because they don't want to be seen, they use other entities which are unknown to law. And you know very well, in Kenya, all the taxes are supposed to be collected by a taxing agent called the KRA, the Kenya Revenue Authority. That's the taxes. And on the charges are supposed to be collected by the agency or state department required. You see that aspect? For example, if it's DCI, it collects 1,000. Then that money, they don't collect direct, they get direct, then it goes to the consolidated fund, then money is not to consolidated fund to do other things. But you can never use money before it goes to the consolidated fund. If you check very well under the Constitution on Chapter 12 on public finance, it's expected money, before money is being used, it has to go to one pot, which you call consolidated fund. Once it goes to the consolidated fund, then the money is appropriated in Parliament. First is budgeted and appropriated before it's being used. But you cannot charge Kenyan 50 shillings, then that money, it goes directly to those shadowy figures. It is not appropriated. You will never find in a budget that it means money need a 50 bob for paying shadowy figures, because it goes directly to they are the owners of the system. So even if it goes to the government, even in court they say that they have to pay every month, and then they pay 500 million in 1 month, not 1,000, not 500,000, 500 million in 1 month. So sometimes you worry, these services they are offering, what 500 million? What are those unique services? This is not the first time we are having systems. We have even SHA, although it has come, but the system does not charge. We have iTax. We have NEMIS for education. We have an SSF, it's a system. We have many systems I can name. Even we have ARIDI. This is which deals with land. All these ones are just systems. If you want to access, you just log in, put your credential, get in. You apply for a service. If you have to pay, you pay the services, you go. You are not charged 50 shillings for what they call administrative fee. Why should you pay administration fee and we're paying taxes? Because like me, I'm a civil servant. The money I'm being paid is from Kenyans taxes. Why should I also demand extra money for doing what I'm supposed to do? So that's what I'm saying, that I think from that time, I think it's a very bad aspect. So I'm saying within Nakuru County, people are happy about what I'm doing. In fact, they have said, like where I live in Nakuru Town West constituency. We have a lot of interest there. They are saying I'm doing a good job for fighting for Kenyans' rights. And if you realize that for you to be a good leader or somebody, you have to be a good citizen who fights for constitutionalism and rule of law. At the same time, if you can, as a society, you need to empower people, ensure they have enough education, you have a high quality health, among others. So what I can say, as a society, let's work as a team to ensure there's constitutionalism and rule of law. And at the end of the day, ensure that in your small way, let us make a society be better than we found it. That's why they always say, a society always develops or gets bad when good people keep quiet. That's why I'm not keeping quiet. I'm fighting for the rights of Kenyans so that they can enjoy. They can never be forced to pay 50 shillings. That's why in my small way, I need to make a society a better place than I found it.
So you mean those Mamambogas who also got a border in Nakuru West and Nakuru County?
Yes.
They are happy of what you have done?
Yes, many people have yes.
It is not just a model to those people.
Yes, even within, if we want to pay anything, even the county, you have to pay 50 shillings. A citizen will cost 50. Even Mamamboga pays 50 shillings. Border pays, even the lowest of the lowest pays 50 shillings. So which is very unfair. Because even if you apply passport, 50 shillings is condemned. So it affects every sector of the society. And the worst part is, the 50 shillings, it does not go to help them in terms of service delivered. It goes directly to those shadowy figures. Those shadowy figures are getting between 500 to 750,000 shillings, the 7,000 million shillings per month. Not even if you check the Gazette notice of 2023, they said it should be on prorated basis, means a percentage of 50 shillings. So if you have 100 shillings, instead of paying 150, you can pay less, like 10 bob. But every system is 50 shillings. So I think people are happy. They're saying I'm doing a good job, and I will never tire. I will always fight for Kenyans, for betterment of our society.
Thank you so much. Maybe so far you have go around the ground, out your ground.
Yes.
What have you had people say?
So
apart from e-citizen, what are some of the other challenges?
So like me, I live in Nakuru Town West. That's where I live. I'm a resident there. I've been there for the last 16 years. People are saying that the economic status as we have is very hard. The cost of living has shot to the roof. So people are having very difficulties, even maintaining their day-to-day living standards. So everything's on the higher end. So sometimes that's what they're saying, that we need to have, for example, if you check even the Kenya Demographic Health Survey and the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, just try to, if you have time, you can read the report. The census, it groups Nakuru Town West as one of the poorest constituencies. So it means for that constituency to move up, generally as a society, we need to work as a team. All of us, leaders, us as common citizens, religious leaders, and other leaders, work as a team. We empower the Kenyan people as a whole. Kenyans, all Kenyans, including the Nakuru Town West and the Nakuru County, as a county where I live. If we work as a team, I'm very sure we will do very well, and we will not have a problem. So that's what I'm trying to put across, that we need to work together to fanya nini, tuende mbele. That's what I can say.
Thank you.